Hi, everyone. This is LOA Uncorked with Gina and Holly. We intend to have some fun around law of attraction principles. Let's discover and unleash the magic that exists inside ourselves. Tune in as we go on the hero's journey together to uplevel our lives with no bullshit, all truth, and nothing but fun. Grab a glass and join our virtual VIP conversation. Hello, everyone. Welcome to LOA Uncorked. This is Holly.
And this is Gina.
And we're so excited today.
I know.
She's here.
Talk about manifestation. This is Holly's manifestation. I mean, you didn't take that long to manifest this one.
I know. It was quick.
It was quick. It was
It was
quick.
good. And
It was quick.
thank you to Michelle Fondin, who's our special guest today, for saying yes to come on LOA Uncorked. We are so excited to have her, and she's going to provide a wealth of knowledge about all kinds of things. So let me introduce her.
Excellent. Please do.
All right.
I'm
So
Michelle.
she's an author,
Go for it.
speaker,
Mhm.
and a YouTuber. And she is a spiritual teacher, and she trained at the Chopra Center. She's going to talk about that with us. But that is the Deepak.
Yes. Yes. I feel about Deepak the way you used to feel about Bill Gates.
I think we need a order so that you don't go after Deepak.
You might.
and
Yes.
stalk
Yes.
him.
Yes. I actually probably
Because you could probably catch
He's
him.
getting
Yes.
older.
Yes.
He's getting older. I mean, I am a threat to this man. I mean, to many people, I could not be. To Deepak, I might
Oh
be.
my God.
Yes,
I love
yeah,
him too,
yeah.
Gina.
And
We
I
share
would-
that. We
yes,
share
I-
that devotion. So
Agreed.
Michelle can talk about
Agreed.
that. She is an expert in meditation
Mhm.
and Ayurveda, and she is an author of 9 books, not 1, not 2, but 9. That's a lot of books.
Yeah.
She loves to write, and we're excited about that.
I love
We love her latest book, which is the Twin Flame Romance, The Journey to Unconditional Love.
My goodness.
So welcome, Michelle.
Welcome, Michelle. How are you today?
I'm great. I'm doing wonderful. And I'm really excited to chat with you guys a little bit.
Excellent.
Absolutely. And
Good
we
job.
will tag all of her other books. She has The Wheel of Healing with Ayurveda
Oh,
and so many other
Yeah.
chakra healing. And we're going to just talk about all the wonderful gifts she is actually giving to her community.
yes,
So
that sounds great. I mean, it makes, I feel like I need to pick up a hobby or learn something new after hearing that list of things. I'm like, I did meditation a few times in the last month. It's
I
awesome.
love
It's
that.
excellent. Can't
Right,
wait.
right?
Lot to talk about for sure. For sure.
okay.
Great.
All right. So can you give us your background and how you ended up being this whirlwind spiritual teacher?
Yeah, like a 5-minute sum up of all brilliant things, Michelle.
Absolutely. Yeah. So actually, my journey started when I was really young. So when I was 18 years old, I had this amazing religion teacher in a Catholic high school. Her name was Leanne Lewis Prescott. Still is. That's still her name. And she was my first yoga teacher. So I was exposed to yoga and guided meditation in her class. And actually, I took yoga with her at a community center. And for me, that was a game changer. I was like, what is this practice? And that was a long time ago. I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but it was a long time ago. And fast forward to when I was 28 years old, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. And I knew that there must be a different way to look at health and wellness. And I found Ayurveda, I found Deepak's book, Perfect Health. I started implementing the practices of Ayurveda, guided meditation. I launched back into yoga where I had let it go. And then finally, fast forward to, I had like a midlife crisis around age 35. And I began my study with Deepak Chopra. I was going through a divorce and changing countries. I was living in France at the time. And I started studying with Deepak Chopra in Carlsbad, California. Now, the funny story in this is that throughout the whole time, I was thinking, am I crazy? Am I crazy to let everything go and just launch a new career?
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'll tell you guys a story of synchronicity that actually happened as I was studying to become a Vedic master. So Vedic master was integrating yoga teaching, meditation, and Ayurvedic lifestyle, which is mind-body medicine, basically, from India. And so I was at the Chopra Center in 2009 getting my Vedic Master certification. I was in class to get my meditation certification, and we had to stand up and do introductions like you would in front of a class, like, here's my story. So I told a story about Leanne Lewis Prescott and how I learned yoga with her. I learned guided meditation when I was 16 years old in a chapel with other kids. And I said she was a major influence in me learning meditation today, teaching others meditation and about, yoga and healthy lifestyle. And we had to study Sanskrit, and my brain was hurting. When you're learning a new language, like your brain starts to hurt. So I was like, well, what better to stop the brain hurt than, little retail therapy. So I went into the gift shop.
Yoga, forget the meditation.
You're talking.
Exactly. I'm just getting
Yes, exactly, exactly.
So I went into the gift shop of the spa, and now in this spa, they had Ayurvedic treatments. They had a program called Perfect Health, and a lot of people gravitated toward that Deepak center for healing. And so I was getting ready to go to the checkout, and I saw this woman walk in through the corner of my eye with a bathrobe, just getting out of a spa treatment. And I ran to the front desk and I said, hey, could you tell me that guest's name? And at that time, she still had index cards, like not a computer file. And she's looking through her index cards. And I said, oh my God, she's not going fast enough. And I yelled out, Leanne. The woman turned her head, came to me. It was my first yoga teacher at the Chopra Center.
You're kidding.
No. And this was I grew up in Michigan. This is in California. And I was getting my Vedic Master certificate. Now, what was funny was at the same time that Leanne walked over to me, my first contact at the Chopra Center, who signed me up for my first course, walked in at the same time. Oh. And for me, that was a validation that I was on the right path, that was my life path. I mean,
absolutely.
18 years later, right? My first yoga teacher walks in to validate my path.
Can you imagine how Leanne felt? I mean, what a gift back to Leanne,
because
breaking the mold and doing all those things that were true to her heart and gifting that to students in a place that's not normal to do.
And then it changed your life and changed your trajectory.
Pretty incredible. What a gift it was to both of you, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I just felt like that was the universe telling me, like, this is where you need to be. This is exactly where you need to be. And it was at that point when I was getting my Vedic Master certificate that I made a commitment to this life path. And I said, well, I'm here to help others. I'm here to help others open up to their spiritual gifts, get really healthy, live a more holistic life and live more authentically. And I think for me, that is truly my life path, is to help others live the life of their dreams. But what does that involve first? It involves feeling whole within yourself first.
Right, for sure. Oh,
I love that. I mean, we call that the billboard. I'm
That's
like, I always say, come on, guides, come on, angels, give me a billboard. Don't like throw a little butterfly my way. Give me, how do I know?
Yeah.
It's a butterfly.
It's got to be like a smack you in the face. You can't miss it kind of thing.
That is incredible.
Yeah,
I love that.
Brilliant.
Wonderful story.
I love it. So you worked your way, you were certified, were you practicing then at the Chopra Center?
So I had traveled a bit with Deepak to his different conferences. He had different programs at the time where I was teaching meditation and yoga at his programs. And, I had 3 small children at the time, so it wasn't really conducive to travel.
Sure.
So I stopped working with Deepak, but I started writing for his website. So for 3 years, I wrote on Chopra Well, which my articles are still on Chopra Well, but I just figured that was the way I could stay tied to the Chopra Center. And then I began teaching the courses that I learned in my own yoga studio, which I owned for 10 years. So I ran a studio where I was teaching all the same principles, yoga, meditation, and Ayurvedic lifestyle. And that's how it all began and ran through. And it has been such an incredible experience, and which led me to writing my first book in 2014, which was The Wheel of Healing with Ayurveda.
Oh, that was your first book. Okay.
That was my first book. Yeah. And it actually, the birth of that book came because of my clients. Ayurveda is such a it's a very vast subject, if you will, in mind body health. It's a 5,000-year-old medical system from India. And it's so incredibly vast that when I was coaching clients, they were like, is there something simple I can read? I'm like, well, there's Deepak Chopra's book, Perfect Health, but it's not really simple to read.
My dad actually read that many times, multiple times over, actually.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So then the Wheel of Healing was born. And at that time in 2014, there weren't a lot of easy manuals on Ayurveda. Since then, there's been a lot published, but it was really one of the first books after Deepak Chopra's book and David Frawley, who had done a lot of more complicated books, but it was really one of the first ones that was like easy. And I wanted to make it easy so that Westerners could really grasp the idea of Ayurveda and apply it to their life.
Right.
I love that. I
Excellent.
love that. So how did you enter the Twin Flame romance book?
Absolutely.
How did that come into your life? And is that book number 9 or is that?
No, I have a book that I published after that called Heal Yourself or Return to Wholeness, the integration of body, mind, soul, and spirit, which I published in 2020. So Twin Flame Romance was September 2019. So yeah, my 9th book is Heal Yourself.
During the pandemic, that's a beautiful time to heal yourself.
Yes.
Absolutely. And in fact, I got angelic guidance to start writing that book in January, apparently not knowing, right? Not knowing what was to come.
Wow.
You got some, your guides are the shit. If they knew that, no one saw that coming except for maybe your people. And they're like, oh, you're gonna need it. People around you are gonna need it.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
incredible.
So Twin Flame Romance came to fruition because in 2018, I guess it was September 2018, I met my twin flame. And it was a really, as you know, perhaps if you've met a twin flame, it was a really complicated journey. And in fact, I knew practically nothing about twin flames at the time. Absolutely nothing. I knew the term.
Right.
I had studied with Doreen Virtue and Radley Valentine to get my angel card certification.
You're certified by them. I love them
amazing.
Too. They're amazing.
Yeah, through Hay House. And so Doreen during my course had mentioned something about twin flames, but it was really like rudimentary. I had no idea what it was. Right. But my sister, who's also a twin flame, had been studying it for about a year because she is also in a twin flame situation. And so what happened was I met this person. I was working full time. I had just moved to California. I was going through a custody battle. It was really hard for me financially because I followed my angelic guidance to move to California without a plan, basically no plan. Yeah. And I had left a business back home. So I was living in DC. I had a clientele. Now it wasn't thriving. It was making it okay.
Yeah.
But, I had always wanted to move to California ever since I was 15. Interestingly enough, my first exposure to California was Anaheim. It was not Disneyland. I had never gone to Disneyland until 2017, but it was not Disneyland. And my dad had a cousin living in Anaheim. So he brought us to Anaheim. And it was at that point, I was 15 years old, that I said, I need to be here. I don't know why, I need to be here. So my lifelong quest was to get to California, which funnily enough, my twin flame was born in Anaheim.
Oh,
how
So
funny.
he would have been 3 at the time.
wow.
He would have been 3 at the time. So I didn't know why there was this pull to Anaheim, but there was.
Yeah.
And so I was in a lot of turmoil in 2018. I just started this job at Disney. I was trying not to lose, custody of my child. It was just all this stuff. And then I meet this person and my world turned upside down. And I was like, what's happening? I don't know what's happening. I don't even want to meet a person. I don't even want to meet a love interest.
You had enough going on.
Right.
Really. Yeah.
I was like, really? And I was coming out of a relationship with an alcoholic. And it was just, I moved 3,000 miles really to get away from him initially. But in December, when things were not working out with this person, I said to my sister, I don't understand what is happening, but I feel like if I date someone else, I'm going to be cheating on this person I just met. And my sister said, uh-oh, you're in trouble. She's like, check out this video on twin flames.
Okay, so your sister clued you in. Has she already been in her twin flame relationship? Because you said she was in one as
Yes.
well.
And so she actually had met someone back in 2013, 2014, around there, not knowing about twin flames at all for like 5 years, 5 or 6 years. She had no idea. And then slowly but surely, she began to learn a little bit more about twin flames, and then realizing, oh God, oh, that's what this is.
Yeah.
So luckily, my sister had the foresight to like recognize what I was going through. And she said, just check out this video and see if it makes sense to you. And for me, it was more like a checklist video. I'm sure you've seen those where it's not even a person, it's a voice. And they basically say like sign 1, sign 2, sign 3, sign 4. So there wasn't a lot of descriptors. And so I wasn't really sure, but I could definitely check off most of the signs and go, oh my God, I'm in big trouble if this is what it is.
Interesting. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Well,
Wow.
it's funny because so I put on my vision board years ago. I had a friend and we would dialogue, we'd get together, have some wine, and we'd talk. And she's like, she talked about her twin flame, and she talked about her twin flame that actually isn't in this world. She had a twin flame in another realm. I don't know that you really went there in your book on anything like that, but that's what she taught. No, but your book was very, very precise and thorough. And people can really understand it by reading your book for sure,
Right.
and gain a lot of comfort and a lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
However, I didn't read that. I didn't read it then. I've read it now. Okay. But I put on my vision board my twin flame.
And you wanted one in this realm, though.
Oh yeah, I said, oh, screw the no,
intergalactic nonsense.
no,
Yes,
no, I want them here
in the flesh.
And you know what's interesting is, and I remember her saying, not a soulmate, a twin flame, because we're gonna talk about that. I know you differentiate that, break that down for us. But so I stuck it on my vision board, and not knowing what it was, but thinking I need it.
One of those be careful what you wish for things, right?
Yeah, right. And thinking I need it. And so anyway, so I and then I, when we were looking at content here, I was like, I was really interested in soul agreements. And of course your book popped up, The Twin Flame. And I was like, okay, I read the whole thing and was very intrigued and couldn't wait to have you on the podcast, because I don't think people understand this. I had no idea. And so I think it would be really great if you can explain what the heck I was asking for versus I skipped the soulmate and went straight to the twin flame.
Yes.
Just to cause myself some extra angst in this lifetime. Nevertheless, that's what I've learned. That's what I've learned. It's like
still on her vision board, just so you know. It's not like she's so upset about it. She's taking it off. So yeah, it can't be that bad, I guess. But
so, okay, it's really interesting because I guess having been on this twin flame journey since September 2018 and having coached over 500 twin flames, I would always say to somebody, like you said, be careful what you wish for. Like, I wouldn't wish this on anybody. But that being said, your soul does choose it before you came here.
Right.
So the awareness of you putting twin flame on your vision board was just an awareness that was already in your energy field, right? And so you didn't actually choose it. It just, you had chosen it before you came here. So there you go. Don't blame yourself if you're like, I just put this and I manifested it. Well, it was already on the way.
She manifested you to come talk about it. I think you're absolutely right. I think that was just that was pre-designed for sure.
Yeah, it's already on the way. So let me just give a brief overview of what a twin flame is. Now, granted, I'm not God. So this is my understanding based on my own experience and based on the experiences of the twin flames that I happen to coach and communicate with over YouTube. The premise is basically when you are in universal energy, whether you call it God, source, spirit, heaven, wherever you want to call it, you have a soul, and then a twin flame is a soul that is split into two to incarnate in this lifetime and maybe other lifetimes separately in two separate bodies. Now, sometimes twin flames were one soul and they came to Earth together as one soul. And then sometimes they have split and then the goal, there's kind of like a mission or a goal to find each other, get back together, and to have that spiritual mission. Now, I believe because we are in a major shift in this earth plane, and especially if you study astrology, astrologically speaking, like things are shifting majorly.
Yes.
We are coming out of, even Ayurveda talks about the age of darkness, right? So it's like a Kala, we're coming out of Kala Yuga, which was just this period of great darkness, and we're coming into a period of light. And so now we are designed to come together as twin flames to raise the consciousness of the globe. So is it a romantic relationship? Most of the time, yes, it is.
Right.
And you can come incarnated as a heterosexual couple, a same-sex couple, it doesn't really matter. Typically, there's like some sort of age difference or socioeconomic status difference. Twin flames tend to incarnate with a lot of obstacles to overcome. And in overcoming those obstacles, they're helping to raise the consciousness of the planet. But it's always about ascending into your higher spiritual self and getting out of the ego self, or getting out of like the more down to earth, earthly aspects of who we are as humans. Did I explain that okay?
It's really fantastic. So the difference between a twin flame and a soulmate is you don't have that splitting of the soul.
With a soulmate, no. Now with a soulmate, a soulmate's definitely part of your soul family. And so what does that mean? A soulmate you've journeyed with before. So you've journeyed with them in past lives. You've made soul agreements with each other before you incarnate in this lifetime, but you own your own souls, if you will. You have your individuated aspect of your soul. Another thing I'd like to explain, and I know the jury is kind of out on this one, but this is my experience, is that you can have many different soulmates in your lifetime. And it's because soulmates can come designed as many different things. They don't need to be romantic in nature.
Right.
So your child could be a soulmate, your mother or father could be a soulmate.
I was gonna say, I mean, Holly's
Gina's my soulmate,
yeah,
but she's
sure.
not in the heart twin flame thing with me. No,
I'm outside the heart.
Yeah.
I heart you, but not as a
Not
twin
the same
flame.
way. Yes,
Yeah.
no, very much so. Yeah, the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's where it gets stickier.
Yeah.
A twin flame can also be a soulmate, but not all soulmates are twin flames, because you typically, I mean, twin means two, right? So you only have one twin flame, and I know that's a lot of people are really confused about that, but no, it's one soul split into two. So you only have one. That's it, just one.
But it can be, but that your twin flame could also be your soulmate. Can you explain? In what way? Like, just because that part,
it's really weird. So, I mean, okay, let's just put it this way. A soulmate typically is in your life to help your soul ascend into the higher spiritual realms.
Right.
And so a twin flame who's also a soulmate is going to do a lot of work with you, or you're going to do a lot of work with them to help their soul to ascend into those higher spiritual realms. Now, by virtue of the twin flame connection, that also happens, but oftentimes twin flames that are just twin flames and not soulmates, the work to ascend into the higher spiritual level is happening while they're separated, while they're separate, living their separate lives, learning the lessons that they need to learn in order to transcend this ego self, to transcend the confines of this physical world. So, it's slightly different, but, all in all, it is a spiritual journey on both ends, right? So even with a soulmate, I'm sure with Gina, like, for example, when you met Gina, you were like, oh my God, I feel so familiar with you. Like, I feel like I know you already, that's the tendency that's the language we tend to use with a soulmate.
The soulmate.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that makes
okay,
sense.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then with a twin flame, so we can work on our stuff, and we work on our stuff together to help ascend each other.
Right.
With a twin flame, we're kind of doing that separately, and working on our own before there is reunion, is what we call the coming together for the twin flame. So
and if you're a soul mate, once you come together, you do work together to move it forward versus
it's really rare for a soulmate romantic relationship for people that are uniquely soulmates. It is pretty rare that a soulmate would separate and then get back together. It does happen, but soulmates tend to be kind of like birds of a feather, you know? And so
Yeah.
they're
Yep.
birds of a feather. There's not a lot of friction, you know, there's some growing and learning, but there's not, you know, a lot of push pull typically.
Push pull. Okay, so your
So good.
YouTube channel does a famous job of setting the stage for this, but for our listeners, we're going to send them there.
Yes.
However, right now, can you give us the 1, 2, 3, whatever signs that you are with a twin flame?
Yes.
So we're going
The
all
checklist.
the checklist.
Yes.
The checklist with a
Okay.
beautiful
It's
face.
Michelle's beautiful checklist for
What did you experience, and what has your soul community, your twin flame soul community, you
So
know?
I'll give you so the weird thing for me when I met my twin flame was that he is not my typical go-to type of person. So I mean, in all honesty, I did not find him attractive in the beginning. I find him attractive now, obviously, but in the beginning I was just like, he was so out of the range of what I would normally go for. And not to mention that there was a work thing that going on there, you know? So it was like, oh, well, you know, this person, you know, you keep them at a distance, if you will. So normally a twin flame is not your type, either physically on the outside, or it's just not the type you would normally go for. The second sign is instant recognition almost. And now this happened for my twin flame. It did not happen for me right away. So it was weird because we had this conversation after we had known each other for about 10 days, but we had this conversation that I call like the activating conversation, where there is this sense of recognizing like, oh, you're the person that's supposed to be in my life for the rest of my life. Oh, this is interesting. So it's this weird, I also almost call it like a time warp where you're like taken back into a time where it's just like everything is perfect for that one moment.
Oh, interesting.
And so for my twin, it was that I activated him by having a conversation. For me, it was a banal conversation, but I said to him, he said he was looking for a home. And he said, oh God, it's so expensive in California. And I said, well, maybe when you get married, you and your wife could buy a home together. And the thing is, I didn't know if he was dating. I didn't know if he was married. I didn't know if he was gay or straight. I didn't know. I was just pulling that out of my butt, right? But obviously our souls agreed to have that conversation, because as soon as I said that, he said, oh my God, I was thinking that exact same thing in the shower this morning. And it was at that moment that everything changed for him. Like I could see it in his eyes. He was just like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're like, why the heck did I even say that?
I know,
That's
yeah.
silly. Okay, yeah.
So I think it's just that like instant recognition, the activation conversation that you have where one of you or both of you recognizes this is something special.
Right.
Now the third thing I'm going to say, and there are like, I have 14 signs on my YouTube channel, but the third thing that most twin flames come to me with is I cannot forget this person. So typically with a twin flame, what happens is there is some sort of connection, some sort of relationship, some sort of scenario where they're together or communicating. And then one person says, I can't do this. It's over. I don't want this. I don't want a relationship. I don't want to be friends with you. And the person who's left on the other side goes into obsession mode and they don't understand it. Now, the phrase I hear more often than not is, I am not an obsessive person. I can get over anybody, anytime, any place. Why can't I let this person go? And so that's really one of the biggest signs I feel that twin flames come to me with is, I found you because I didn't know how to let this person go. And then I found twin flames.
Right. Right.
And I think, you know, there are other things like they have major obstacles between them, such as an age gap. Not all twin flames, but a lot of twin flames will have like a 10-year, 15-year, 20-year age gap between them. Other things are major obstacles like race differences, skin color differences, religious differences, country differences. And what I call those are paradigm shifts, like things that we're needing to overcome as twin flames to help the general collective overcome these outdated paradigms. So those are just a few. Seeing signs and synchronicities, for example, are another one, like seeing 1111 consistently before you meet a twin flame. So
all the time together. Okay.
Literally, I almost sent it to
Maybe
you
you are my
yesterday.
twin.
Maybe we are. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I like that. I like how you talk about the fact that, you know, I just can't get over him, her, whatever they are. But I have a lot of friends that, and as I'm growing up, that and maybe the difference is obsessiveness. Okay, that particularly for females, I don't want to say that, but I mean the divine feminine energy, okay, has a tendency to, I don't know, to maybe get, how do you know if it's something that is real versus something that you
Like
just like the chase, you know, you talk about that in the book. It's this chase, this back and forth chasing. And women, I don't know, sometimes I'm going to get in trouble for this, I know, but the divine feminine sometimes just, how do you know? And how do you,
sometimes it's like obsession just with the fact that you need a person or you want a person versus
and you've coached so many people. I'm sure you've had to decipher like, who are those people? Because there are people like that out there. It's I mean, I think there are a lot of them out there that maybe that, you know, that they come find you and then they want to be coached. And can you figure that out? Do you have a way of helping them see that? Or
yeah, and I would see, you know, since I do intuitive and card readings, like typically it'll come out in the reading whether or not it's a twin flame connection or a soul connection. Right. But I would say there are two things with a twin flame that will help differentiate from like, oh, this guy's really cute, I'm just obsessed with him, you know, that kind of thing. Sure. I always say, you don't choose a twin flame connection, it chooses you. That's number one. Number two, it is a connection that won't let you go, not the opposite. It's a connection that won't let you go. So when I say this, for example, with my twin flame, for example, I would start to see his name absolutely everywhere. He has a very, 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 very unusual name. Let's just put it that way. Very unusual. And I would start to see his name absolutely everywhere. Yeah. I mean, it was like insanity. I'm like, why am I seeing his name everywhere? So there was like things like that. I would bump into him when I absolutely was not supposed to. So, you know, I mean, so those are like I was like, what? This guy just dumped me. Why do I keep running into him? You know, it's just like, I want to run the opposite direction. Right. So it's kind of it's from a physical standpoint, it's literally, it won't let you go, meaning there will be the universe. It seems like the universe is constantly throwing the two of you in the same space, or there's like signs, or they'll pop up in a feed somewhere. So there's this constant like little signs that will happen, and I'd say more concrete signs. And then there's something that's happening spiritually too, where you cannot let the person go, and it's almost like because they won't let you go, their spirit won't let you go. For example, I would have constant dreams of my twin flame. Now, for all intents and purposes, you can't really control your dreams. Right. But my twin flame would constantly come up in dreams and telling me messages, like delivering messages to me in a dream. Oh, wow. Twin flames will also feel the energy of their twin flame around them. So they almost say like, it's like I'm looking in the mirror and I'm seeing myself, but then I also see my person behind me. Something like that. Or for me, it was like frequent night waking, like at 3:33 a.m. for like months, where I could feel my twin flame's energy next to me, with me. And it got to the point, and I know this happens to a lot of twin flames, where they're just like, could you let me sleep? Could you leave me alone, please? You know? So there's a lot of other things happening that are pulling you to that person, pulling you into the twin flame journey, that would not happen in a normal type relationship, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. And I like that you said, I mean, I believe in having a whole posse of people to help one another. Okay. Like, you know, the more the merrier, I say.
Yes, I agree.
What I heard from you, which I think is really also important is if you are in that space,
Mhm.
you could call Michelle and have a reading,
Mhm.
and she could pull
Oh,
cards
yeah.
to help you understand, am I being obsessive?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because I would imagine, I mean, like you said, some twin flames could be a soul connection too, a
Yeah,
soulmate, right? So,
absolutely.
not, and then some, may be together for quite some time. Some it's just this polarizing, it's just hard from the beginning and it never really works. And there's this kind of, despite how many times they're thrown in front of you by the universe to keep trying, right? Or
Yeah.
keep doing whatever that contract was about. And so it's interesting to think about, how do you know how much you should invest in this as a relationship itself?
I like that. That's a really good question. I really, really like that. So, obviously in the beginning, when I was at the genesis of this journey, I truly didn't know, right? And I had invested a lot in my twin flame. And, he went back and forth from like, let's be friends to let's be romantic. No, we're just colleagues. Like, it was just this craziness. But I kept investing in him. And I was like, okay, at some point I was like, all right, this is silly because I'm not seeing the reciprocity, even though I was receiving all the signs on the side and
Right.
his presence in the 5D, which is the spiritual realm, kind of the spiritual connection that you're feeling. And eventually, what it does turn around to is you need to invest in yourself. And that's really what the twin flame journey is about. It's because your twin is your mirror, your twin is a reflection of you because you're the same soul.
Right.
So if you think about it, what I like to call is like, in your DNA, everything is recorded, right? So when you get sick, that's recorded in your DNA, right? Whatever pre-existing conditions you might be having for one disease or another disease. And then the immunities that you develop, that's all recorded in your DNA and that might be passed on to your offspring, right?
Right.
With your souls, yours and your twin souls, is like, it's almost like the soul DNA is being recorded real time. So everything that your twin is going through, everything that you are going through is being recorded real time. So the impressions are with you all the time.
Interesting.
And so really, as your twin is a reflection of yourself, the call in the twin flame journey is to turn back to yourself and start loving yourself and start paying attention to yourself and healing yourself. And as you start to do that, the call for your twin to start doing the same thing will happen. Now, timelines are very weird and different, obviously.
Sure.
And God also gives us free will. So, it's like free will to not do it, or do it at a different time. So I always say, like, yes, you're going to get over that initial obsession with your twin, because there is a sense of obsession, because if this person is like a perfect puzzle piece for you,
Yes.
as humans, we crave connection. So
Intoxicating.
Yes, it is.
yeah, so like it's a perfect puzzle piece, and of course you're going to crave that puzzle piece. You're like, this fits perfectly. But once you get over that obsession, and we can talk about, you can ask about Dark Night of the Soul if you'd like, but once you get over that, then the rest of the work to get to the place where you need to be ready to come back together with your twin is all self work. It's all work on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. So before we talk about Dark Night of the Soul,
I know. I was going to say.
I think we have.
You're
to
not
go
going to
there.
ask. I'm going to
But
ask.
I know we'll get there. But I wanted to. When we're talking about like the journey, and you talk about the reunion, and do all twin flames actually get together, and what's your experience on, how long it takes to get together, and is everybody destined
Do
to
they
get
all
together?
get together? Yes.
I think
exactly.
I know the answer, but I want her to tell me.
I know. I love
But I know the
It's a
answer
great
from her.
question.
But I know the answer from her.
You cheat. She's
cheated.
She's
Okay,
the kid that sat in the front row that always raised her hand. She knew it all.
I wanted
Yeah.
the gold star.
Yeah.
Give me the gold star.
that's where I was, so the angelic guidance that I have received over time has said there will be twin flames that opt not to come into reunion with their twin flame. And a lot of times that has been written in the soul contract prior, meaning like you meet, you start ascending, you help each other to ascend, but maybe it's just this lifetime is just not the right time to come back together and to reunion. And so they opt, they're like, no, this is not for me. It was nice, it was great.
Right.
I healed, but now is not the time. And then most twin flames, yes, in fact, will come together in this lifetime in a romantic connection, to be, together forever and ever, if you will. Now, for the next lifetime, will they then incarnate as one soul versus two souls? Divine guidance has told me that that is typically what will happen. So yes, most will. That's just the end. And what I like to say is, like, why would God, put both of you together in this lifetime, to come together in this lifetime, to go through all the turmoil, the push pull, to like then go, okay, just kidding, no, sorry. I think that's just cool, right? Yeah. But the power of both twins being together, like the actual power that as you come together and both of you are in this ascended energy, and then think about all the twin flames in the collective that are banding together, coming together in this ascended energy, that it's kind of like reaching critical mass to have that quantum leap in everything, like in the world, in societies, right? To ascend to the next level. So it's kind of, if you think about it, the twin flame, it's kind of part of our job to help the collective, the general collective as a whole, ascend.
Yep.
So if we can't do that, then we're not really completing our job, if you will. So it's not about the romance. The romance is kind of like icing on the cake.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's really more about the spiritual mission to help everybody ascend higher.
I love that. I love that. And you talked a few times, you touched on the 3D versus the 5D experience with the twin, which I find fascinating.
Well, I have to hear about it.
And so she kind of touched on it. So if you can just talk a little bit more about what that looks like, because you experienced that. You were talking about,
oh my God,
that's the 5D. Anyway, so if you can just talk about that, and then do all your twin flame coachings have that element? And it's a very spiritual element.
Yeah.
Anyway, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So it was really weird. Now, what's funny is that I had been on this spiritual journey starting at age 18, probably prior to that. And I had had many spiritual awakenings along the way. And so just simply the 3D experience is physical world experience through your 5 senses. Right. So what I teach in my meditation course, which my teacher Deepak Chopra taught to me, was that you only have an experience in this world through your senses. That is the only way we can record experience, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So for those of you that are meditators, when you slip into the gap between your thoughts in meditation, where you kind of have a transcendent experience, that's 5D. That's 5D. So 5D, for example, to give you something very concrete, is, for example, if you hike to the top of the mountain, you're standing at the top of the mountain with this incredible rush, and you watch this beautiful sunset, and you are completely awestruck, and time stands still for you. That's a 5D experience. When you have a baby and you hold the baby in your arms for the first time, and you see the moments of perfection in life, nothing goes wrong, that's 5D experience, right? When you're speaking to a friend you haven't seen in a long time, and you start speaking to a friend at 11 a.m. and then you look down at your watch and it's 5 p.m. and you're like, what? Yeah. Well, the time dimension just slipped away from you. Yeah. That's a 5D experience. So I was already pretty well versed in 5D experiences prior to meeting my twin, but interestingly enough, I believe my twin is very evolved as a person, probably way more evolved than me. And so immediately when we went into separation, I started having 5D experiences, obviously not knowing what it was, but I could hear my twin speaking to me in the 5D, meaning like when my twin wasn't physically present, he was speaking to me.
You think you were losing your mind?
I did, but it was his voice and it made sense to me.
Right.
So I was just like, okay, that's what telepathy is. I just guess I'll go with it. So I started writing things down, right? It was kind of cool, but it was kind of weird at the same time, So I think someone who has never been through such a spiritual journey as I have been, like I've done levitation. So I've levitated, like I've done meditations where I levitate. So if you can levitate, you can believe someone's speaking to you when they're not there.
100%.
Yes.
Yes. Now, if they can speak to you while you're levitating, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah,
That's another
exactly.
level. Yeah.
So, it was kind of odd because obviously I didn't know what it was. And then I learned about twin flame telepathy. There's a lot of other weird, 5D world experiences. But if you think about it, the spirit transcends space time, right? So, our spirit is kind of like enclosed in this physical body so we can experience life through the five senses. But the spirit is not confined to the body. We think it is, right? We think it is. That's what we think. We think like, oh, my spirit's inside of me.
Yeah.
But it's really not confined to the physical body. The spirit, the soul is spaceless and timeless. So it's really like, whatever, it can go anywhere. So yeah, that is the 5D experience. And I know many people have a really hard time grasping this because it's not something we talk about ever.
Yeah.
Right? It's not something in our common language.
Right.
But it's definitely something that happens on the twin flame journey.
I loved your, your reference to the 5D. I think was the original one that Holly was mentioning. When you lay in bed and you feel energy of someone else, or, you come into a room and you feel someone's energy and then they call that sort of elevated connection is really what we're referring. And that can come in, like you said, many, many, many different forms.
Yeah. You're thinking of them,
Yes.
they call.
Yes,
You're,
exactly. Yes.
That's all.
Or you're thinking, gosh, they probably had a hard day. They called and they had a hard day. Like, there's that level of, so it's that level of stuff.
Absolutely. And it's like, as Deepak Chopra says, we are all connected in the infinite field. Like we are literally all connected in the infinite field.
Yeah.
It's like, just because you're not aware of it doesn't mean it's not there.
Sure.
So, it's like we experience so many things that we can't make sense of in this world. And it's just because we are multidimensional beings, right? We're not just like one-sided beings. And most people go through life thinking like, oh, I'm this physical body and I think, and maybe I have a soul. I don't know what that means, but my experiences come through things that I can make sense of. And so many of our experiences we don't actually make sense of. Like you said, somebody calling you out of the blue when you just thought of them.
Yep.
Well, it's interesting because like I make a point of like looking, I call this the web, and that we're all connected in this web, and this thing is activating, and I can see it for other people. Oftentimes I can say, oh, well, that's this and this is that. It's harder for yourself. And then, oh, that has the ripple effects. You just even think about your yoga teacher, the ripple effects on that web that she created for you. And then you reunited on that web later. I mean, it's
so insane.
I mean, it brings me to my knees and being humble.
Think about it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, not to mention that, the reason she was there was because she had lymphoma.
Oh, wow.
She was going there for healing.
Healed.
Crazy.
Yeah,
So
she's well.
I do too.
Okay, so let's go to the dark night.
Okay, yes, I have other questions, but they're lighter. And so I think we embed the dark night right here and then we come back out of it a little bit.
Well, so does every twin experience have a dark night of the soul? What that look like?
From what I have experienced, if you are open, willing, and able to do the spiritual work you're designed to do, then yes. If you try to block it in any way, then the answer is still yes, but it may take some time.
I see.
So I believe that if you are full on immersed in your journey, in your twin flame journey, and open to the experience, then everybody experiences dark night of the soul. Now, what is this? It's basically you facing your shadow energy, your darkness inside, right? Whatever you've been through in this lifetime and usually other lifetimes.
Yeah.
And also things that you may have been through with your twin flame in other lifetimes, because some of it just doesn't make any sense. So I will give you an example of something that happened to me that made zero sense. Back in January of 2019, I had known my twin roughly 4 months. We had already gone into separation, but we were still seeing each other every day. And I had to I was getting a reading from someone because I was trying to make sense of it. I didn't know what twin flames were. And so I downloaded a picture, like I stole it off his Facebook profile, for the reader, you know, I'm like, here's a picture of this person. And so I had printed a picture to have during the reading, you know, and the reader had one. But as soon as I gazed into my twin's eyes in the picture, I would start sobbing. No reason why, no idea why. And that was kind of the beginning of my dark night of the soul. This is extremely common for twin flames, that when they see a picture of their twin or they see their twin, they just cry uncontrollably. And it's not that they're depressed. It's not that they're sad necessarily. It's just a purging. It's like a purging of the heaviness of everything from the past, everything from past lives. Now, for me personally, this unfortunately went on for like 8 to 9 months.
Oh, wow.
Where every time I would see my twin, and I had to see him quite frequently, I would start sobbing, or I'd see his name written even in an email, and I'd start sobbing. And I couldn't understand why. I couldn't understand what was happening. But it's a cleansing, it's a clearing, it's getting over the confines of your ego, it's getting over outdated paradigms. It's just all the healing that you need to do is happening during the dark night of the soul. And unfortunately, most twin flames have no idea what's going on. And I would say my recommendation to you is that seek out a spiritual teacher if you understand that this is what this is, because they can help guide you through it.
Yeah, that's great. Mm-hmm.
And I would say if you, I'm not a medical professional, but if you have a history of mental illness, or, then obviously seek out your health professional. But a lot of twin flames will just get on antidepressants because they don't understand it. And really, that is not actually the diagnosis. The diagnosis is spiritual healing.
Right.
And it's not,
but it's hard
though. Yeah, it wouldn't present itself in the 3D world. That's not how it
right, exactly. And unfortunately, what antidepressants can do is suppress you from experiencing the things you need to experience during dark night of the soul. What I would say, rather, if you can, and like I said, get a diagnosis if you do have a history of this, but I would say find a licensed therapist, at least, that can help you with the childhood wounds. The spiritual stuff, most therapists have a hard time grasping.
Yes, I agree.
Getting over the childhood wounds, like if you're meeting your twin flame brings up like child abuse that happened to you, or like a codependent abusive relationship you've had in the past, or like, I don't know, there's so many wounds that we carry with us from our past. I would say definitely seek out a great therapist who can help you work through that stuff. And I would say a lot of twin flames have done that as well. They're doing like the spiritual work, but they're also doing the psychological work with someone who can guide them through that.
Right. Wow.
That's really great advice.
I always heard that dark night of soul is part of like the hero's journey, but that is all of that, whether it's the hero's journey or this, all of it is meant for you to rise into your gifts or your talent. Like, the conflict or the struggle is to help you show up in a more powerful way, right? As the hero of your own story, right?
And then we help the collective. But interestingly enough, the twin flame journey is the twin flames are going through this dark night of the soul by themselves.
Right.
And you still have a hankering for your twin flame romantically, right? Being with them. You don't have them, and you're going through this immense amount of I call it spiritual up leveling, which is you can't up level if you're not willing to deal with the shadow.
Yep.
Do the work. Yep. That's an incredible. That's when I said I'm not sure I really wanted what I put on my board. Okay,
because it's hard.
It's hard.
Yes. Yeah. That's interesting. But
anyway, that's so interesting. Yeah. So if people are in that space, reaching out and getting help, and you're right. None of us are medical. We can't diagnose anything. Well, I always think I'm a shaman.
Yes, you do.
Astrologer, shaman, you name it. Okay.
She doesn't even tell me to go to WebMD. I'll tell you what's wrong.
I know what's happening.
Don't go to WebMD.
But no.
Don't go to WebMD. You'll find yourself with diseases that you never thought.
Exactly. Okay, don't do that. But no, we're not medical professionals. But definitely getting a coach, if any of this resonates, getting
Yeah.
a coach, when I know you do coaching,
Yeah.
and we'll talk
Yeah.
about that, getting somebody to help you through this process, because it is hard.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard. Yeah. And like I said, luckily I had the tools in my back pocket because I had been through all of this as far as, being a life coach for 10 years prior to that. So I did have the tools in my back pocket, but
Right.
even with that, it was still hard. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you were born to be a teacher. So yeah, that
Wow.
trajectory is interesting. Fun.
So does everyone have a twin flame? I mean,
No,
No.
does that?
no. It's what your soul has chosen, right? So the way I look at it is, as souls we journey. Now what's funny is I was brought up Roman Catholic, so the idea of reincarnation was never in my mind at all. Even studying yoga and all that, it's like there's this concept of samsara, which is, the birth and rebirth, right? So it's like constantly living until you reach ascension. And I never really grasped it or believed in it. But then, several years ago, there was just some things where I was like, oh, there has to be past lives. This has to be a thing. But I really feel that, like, as a soul, we choose our lifetimes to evolve and grow in. And not everybody is at the time and space where they're going to choose something so difficult, right? So I believe that only the highest evolved souls that have journeyed here many times, have learned a lot of different lessons, are kind of ready to take on the task of being a twin flame, because it's such a hard journey. It's not, like I always say, it's not for the feeble-minded and the weak at heart. It's absolutely not. This is a kick-ass journey. It's only like for those that are ready to go the extra mile or 1,000 miles. But yeah, so no, not everybody does, but that doesn't mean that they won't eventually.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
no, I love
Right.
that.
Yeah. No, I love that. So so your twin flame journey started, you said 2019?
18.
2018, September 2018. Mhm.
And is that contract there for the rest of your life? I mean, in varying degrees, or?
Yes. So, I mean, the ultimate goal obviously is reunion.
Mhm.
And what's interesting is that I've checked in with the Akashic records with, other people first, but then my sister Annette as well.
Love that.
And it was funny because, I'm in communication with my twin. We are not yet together because there's been a lot of back and forth. That's all I'll say. There's been a lot of back and forth.
Yep.
But one of the most recent things that he had said to me was, I just want to be friends and I never want to get married. I never want to be with another person again. I'm just going to go solo. I'm going to fly solo for the rest of my life. And so I immediately, checked in with my sister and we went into the records and I said, okay, well, I just need to ask this question because here's my twin flame giving me this info, And, and I was surrendered to it, even though I had received constant messages that we would be together forever. I had kept receiving that from day one, but you never know. And so in the Akashic records, our souls in this lifetime have agreed to rectify a lifetime from the past. I think it was like 1,000 years ago, where we were both in India. We were extremely happy. We were married. In fact, I don't know if you know the god Ganesha. My twin actually looks a little bit like Ganesha, if you will, like kind of like the physiology, not an elephant, but you know what I mean? Just like,
Right.
he's Asian, he's half Asian.
Yeah.
And apparently my nickname for him was Ganesh, and I cheated on him in that lifetime, but I was too innocent. I didn't know it was cheating. I was like pulled away by somebody else. And so we are rectifying what happened in that lifetime to re-find our union, to re-find our happiness, our joy, so he's, his 3D self is wrong about wanting to be alone for the rest of his life.
It seemed a little extreme.
It does a little
But
bit.
I love that you brought up Akashic records. So for our listeners, we will do something on that soon. And the Akashic records, actually, you can go in with, you can do it yourself. I don't know how to do it. There's some meditations that you can do, but you can use somebody to go in and actually ask that question, like Michelle, like you did, and find an answer. I love that.
And what's neat about twin flames, and my sister Annette, she does Akashic records too, but one thing she explained to me that I didn't know was that since like if the person is actually your twin flame, you can go into the Akashic records of lives that you've had with your twin flame, and also to ask about your soul's journey. Like what are we designed to do in this lifetime with our soul contract? So you can ask that question because it's written in your soul contract, basically, with when you came here. Now, one thing you cannot do, though, is go into your twin flames soul record by themselves, because that's personal. That's somebody's own personal soul journey.
Yeah. So you obtain your own records. See, I love that. See, I was looking into soul contracts as how I've met Michelle. Now she's talking about soul contracts. That's synchronicity.
Right. So you would only know kind of what your soul designed to come in and learn and partner.
Yes. And then like with a
not know what your
more like, with a twin flame, it's more like what what is our purpose in this lifetime? Are we designed to be together or not be together or whatever? I don't know, because I'm not an Akashic record reader, but and even like what's kind of cool with soul contracts is that if you do go into the records with someone who knows what they're doing, obviously, you can clear also outdated records. Like if you have an outdated contract or a vow of chastity or something like that, you can clear that too, which is kind of cool.
I love that.
That would,
that's amazing.
That is, because if you haven't done that or they haven't been closed, that's influencing who you are in the 3D world.
Exactly. So people that might have problems getting married, for example, might have a vow of chastity, or they were a monk and they just took a vow to not marry, so in a past life. So I find that really fascinating.
Yeah, I love that. And I wrote down a little quote that you did because it spoke to me, and I think it would speak to our audience too, because it goes beyond twin flames. And you had said, the more you let go, the faster you'll obtain whatever you desire, including your reunion with your twin. And so the less you obsess, the more you let go. And I hate let go with the flow. I don't like the go with the flow, or whatever it is. But I love the idea of we're not controlling everything. We can't, and when you go you realize that we have free will, but we can't control things as much as we want to.
Well, and especially in a twin flame relationship, I mean, you can't help but come back together. It's not even not even an option. You're going to come back, whether the reunion occurs or not, doesn't matter. But even if you let it go, like you said, they will keep being placed right in front of you, and and so it's not even an option for them not to come back.
Absolutely. Well, and what's funny is that, and I know it's a hard journey, and I always like to show compassion for those who are in a twin flame journey, because believe me, I'm in this journey too, so I understand how hard it is. But I always say, like, the universe conspired to bring you and your twin flame together to meet once in this lifetime. Mm-hmm. And think of all the things that, I do a twin flame boot camp 1 and 2 that helps twin flames on their journey. And I do this exercise with them. Mm-hmm. I say, write down every single event that had to happen for you to cross paths with your twin. Would you have ever imagined all the things that needed to conspire together to make it happen? And don't you think the universe is smart enough to be able to find those events again to bring you guys back together?
I love that. And so your boot camp, is it for the both parties? So for me,
I cater more to but Divine Masculines obviously have done it and they have gotten a lot out of it. I entitled it, which I maybe should change the title, Divine Feminine Boot Camps, because 95% of my clientele are divine feminines, even in a masculine body, some divine feminines are male. And so I was just seeing that so many were struggling with the twin flame journey. And I felt, okay, what can I teach them that I've been through that I've already learned? Right. And that's one of the things, and it's a self-directed course, so you can do it on demand yourself, and it rolls out, the modules roll out every 3 days or so. But there's a lot of journaling, a lot of self-healing, a lot of reflection, just like the exercise that I gave the example for. But I always say that most twin flames, divine feminine side, are recovering codependents. So that need for control, the need to
Yep.
people please, to overgive, to try to make things work. It's kind of in our blood, and we are learning to love ourselves first and foremost.
I know, I love that.
And be balanced. I love that.
And we'll put all of your information in the show notes, Michelle, so people can find it, including where to get sign up for the boot camp. So I mean, now I kind of am interested in this question, but I'm pretty sure our viewers are wondering too. So your twin flame.
Yes.
You know he's a twin flame. Has he accepted this? Does he understand that on here? I mean, how much of this?
I think
That's a great question. You know, we'd get in trouble if we didn't ask that, and I don't think I would have asked that.
I'm
so,
dying to know.
God.
Yes,
Okay,
does he know?
Okay, so
Like,
Michelle, spill
on
the
a
tea, girl.
subconscious level, I think he knows. He's never come out right and said it.
Okay.
When I said it, I told him early in the process that we were twin flames, but again, I was just learning, so I didn't know what it was. I just sent him I sent him a couple of video links, and he told me I was crazy. He said, "Stop sending me crazy stuff."
I love you. That's so funny.
That is good.
But we've had many conversations recently, and so much has purged from him, like so much has come out of him. That he keeps telling me I'm his spiritual teacher. Like he keeps telling me that. And I'm just like, what?
Spiritual than you.
Right. Yeah. Didn't you say that? You thought he was more spiritual than you.
I think, well, he's much more of a sage than I am. Like, but I think he's still healing his ego aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that blockage of not believing in himself enough, and he knows how smart he is and how much of a sage he is. But I think he's a more closeted spiritual leader, if you will.
Right. Well, he is, but he doesn't want to admit it, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, he'll admit it to me.
Sure. Yeah.
But he knows that I understand, and he knows that I understand him.
Yes.
So I think, he's come to the conclusion that I always need to be in his life. And he's struggling with the romance piece, and that's part of his wound.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he was deeply rejected in romance a few years ago, and it broke him completely. And he's still recovering from that. So that's his major wound that he's overcoming.
Wow.
Yeah. And you do this separately because it's the twin flame journey.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
But I find it really fascinating, though, that he keeps telling me about me being his spiritual teacher, because it's like, okay, all right, I'm not teaching you anything, but
Oh, I love it.
Oh that's fascinating.
It's great. Thank you for asking that question.
Yeah.
So you've got a big YouTube community, and now you have coaching. Can you tell us all the ways our listeners can find you on Facebook and all the other things? So just lay it all out there, including the Ayurveda. So we talked about twin flames, but there's a lot around that
is big. Yeah.
It's big. So can you tell us about that?
If you would like Michelle to be your spiritual teacher, where can they find you?
Yes.
My website is michellefondinauthor.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my YouTube channel with all the twin flame stuff is also Michelle Fondin Author. You can find me on Instagram, Michelle S. Fondin, and Facebook as well.
Yeah,
great.
But as far as all my courses and coaching, that's all on my website, Michelle Fondin Author. I'm launching a brand new group coaching program, which I'm so excited for.
That's great.
It's actually more affordable because a lot of people will receive readings from me, and because I only do a limited number of readings, it's a little more costly. And I know after a pandemic and everything, not everyone can afford reading. However, the group coaching is just like this over Zoom. We're doing it over Zoom, and it's going to be topics. So I'm debating. I think the first topic is actually going to be codependency, like overcoming codependency.
Yep.
And we're going to meet twice a month. And then in addition to that, my group coaching members are going to receive extra video content as well. Not only on the topics we discussed, but other things I was doing on my channel up until this week, Divine Masculine, Divine Feminine readings as well. Those will now be inside of the group coaching program. And I also have a community page, which is a private page, not on Facebook, not on any social media, but through my website, private so twin flames can talk to each other, because I think that's really what's lacking in that loneliness, that dark night of the soul.
Right.
A lot of twin flames, they think they're crazy because they're like, I feel like I'm going crazy.
Well, it's interesting. And I think I was just going to comment on your group coaching, because I actually think there's huge benefit and value if in a group coaching session to hear things up from others, or experience someone else's that hits you, that teaches you something, or provides some learning or opportunity, or the mirror up for yourself.
Container of learning.
Fascinating. The group coaching is, I think, a fabulous idea. And I also think most people don't understand codependency.
I think that's like, I was coaching some clients individually this week, and that theme kept coming up, and it comes up all the time, by the way. And just because being a sensitive soul, being an empath, we have a tendency toward codependency. That's it. And so I really feel like that is a huge piece that we as empath sensitive souls can work through.
Right.
And it will certainly help you not only in your romantic relationships, your twin flame relationships, but every relationship.
Yes.
So I think it's huge.
That's what I was going to ask.
It gets to the heart of like you said, your health, improving your health. And, when you have all those codependencies that you're making choices and decisions from, you're not listening to your body, you're not listening to your spirit, you're doing things in service of maybe something other than yourself, which is in small little buckets, fine. In big buckets, has huge impacts on health, well-being, happiness, all that stuff. So being aware of the signs of it, because I think of codependency, I always did, as one kind of small little, it's
pretty pervasive, and another way we can call codependency, for example, is just like people pleasing, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's so big and broad.
Huge.
I don't quite understand it. So to that point, and to your point, Gina, even if you don't think you have a twin, coming to your coaching and helping work through some of these issues just that we have as a collective divine feminine, will actually help elevate all of your relationships, including if you're single.
100%. Yes.
So, I mean, I feel like it could be, it's really all inclusive.
Yeah.
I feel like I could learn some on this codependency thing.
Yes.
And I've read a couple books and thought, what is it? Okay. And I still don't know what it is.
I figure that I get a little knowledge, and I keep finding how much,
and nobody
how
wants
big
to
it is.
think that they're codependent.
No,
I mean, because we're so independent and fierce. We're fierce, and how could we be codependent?
Exactly.
But you can be fierce and codependent.
Yes.
Absolutely. And like another thing you had mentioned, Ayurveda. So one thing I think twin flames also, or anyone who's on a spiritual journey, right?
Yes.
And to deny or ignore is the fact that like what I eat, what I put into my body, because Ayurveda is a lot about, food is medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like what I eat, what I put into my body is going to affect my life on the day to day, but it's like most people don't think it's going to affect their spiritual journey, but it actually does affect your spiritual journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, that's another piece that I would like to really develop in the group coaching as well. And it's something I did for years anyway, through my yoga studio with Ayurvedic lifestyle counseling, is just helping people find the diet, the food that resonates with their body. Because that's what Ayurveda is. It's getting in touch with what resonates with your personal body.
Well, yeah. And if you're not fighting how you feel all the time, you just even just that helps raise your vibration, your energy, all that. I mean, it starts, the ascending. If you're not fighting your physicalness,
right,
you absolutely can elevate your spirit and your higher consciousness.
It's hard to develop and grow when you feel crappy, basically.
Absolutely. So Michelle, will your book on Ayurveda help folks that are kind of maybe in that space right now?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the Wheel of Healing with Ayurveda is it's a concept of integrative health.
Yeah.
So it's mind, body, soul, and spirit. And each chapter, it links to another in the sense of looking at all the aspects of your life, which I call the spokes of the wheel. Your physical health, your mental health, your mind, your body, your relationships, your past, healing your past, and even your financial health, it all integrates together. and it helps you move towards your life purpose, because if one area of your life is out of balance, then rest assured another area of your life is going to be out of balance. And it's never perfection. And I learned this in AA: progress, not perfection. But it's about maintaining more or less balance on a consistent basis. And it's all about feeling, right? It's all about how you feel. If you feel great and fantastic and vibrant from day to day, then you're able to be a light for others.
Yes, for
Well,
sure.
I love it. And you have such a varied background.
I know.
I mean,
definitely
she
picking up on
studied
that.
AA for one of your relationships, right?
Yeah. So I wrote a book called Help, I Think My Loved One's an Alcoholic, and talk about being majorly codependent. I tried everything I could to get him sober, including going to over 100 AA meetings. And I did that in research of my book too, because I felt like there wasn't a lot of resource on helping loved ones of alcoholics to understand the nature of the disease and to understand in alcoholics from the inside out. And but yeah, I
have a book on that.
I do. And it's basically for people that are in relationships with addicts and to understand that dynamic.
Yeah.
That's a really powerful book.
Yeah,
I'm
what
sure.
a gift for those in that situation. Because to your point, I mean, talk about feeling alone.
Yeah.
Can't imagine.
Especially post-pandemic. I think they said that like alcohol and drug addiction went up by like 40% during the pandemic.
Wow. That's heartbreaking. Yeah.
Well, this was just incredible. I feel like we met a soul sister today.
I know.
Right?
And you know what? Like, there's so much more to talk about.
I know. I mean, we might be, seeing if she might have some availability down the road. If she's willing to come back. Yeah.
I would love to come back, guys.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing all of your gifts and talents and knowledge with our community.
Yeah.
I'm sure
inspired me for sure. I'm going to pick up the Wheel book for sure.
All right.
I'm excited.
I'm going to give the Wheel book.
Yeah.
I've got people to actually give.
I need to get on the wheel.
We're getting on the wheel.
We're getting on the wheel.
All right.
Well, thank you so much again.
So much
pleasure
fun.
having you.
You're very, very welcome, guys. Thanks so much.
All right.
Take care of yourself.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
We believe in magic. This is Holly.
And this is Gina.
The LOA Uncorked definition of magic is recognizing something special has occurred and you don't know how or why.
And we invite each of you to experience more magic, joy, lots of laughter, all while uncorking your inner badassery to up-level your life.
Everyone, welcome to the party.